Welcome to another Tuesday night shiur. Before we start, Kidarkeinu B'Kodesh, I thank you for your gift, Ben Zion Ben Gir. He said to leave it here, so I'm leaving it here. I don't know what's shot behind it, but hopefully it doesn't break with all the action. Okay? Let's go. Someone had a question before, go Boris.
I heard this thing, I don't know, it's like I guess somebody deciphered some Torah and got some Kabbalah. But Chava slept with the snake and she had Cain.
So you're asking, did Chava physically have relations with the snake?
Yeah.
Is that your question?
Yeah, and like Cain is basically the snake.
Okay, so I'll answer you. So the answer is as follows. First, does everyone understand the question?
Yeah.
Okay, the question is as follows, right? It says that and Chava knew, right? Anytime there's the word dat, it means there was some physical intimacy. There was some sense of intimacy, some exchange of something. By the Nachash and Chava, the Gemara brings it black and white. Sechet Avodah Zarah. That Chava didn't physically sleep with the snake. What was it? Since she listened to him and she ate from the Eitz Hadat, Tovera, why Tovera? Before there was only one, there was a pure understanding of between right and wrong. Right? If you know what's right and wrong, you don't want to do it. Once she ate from the Eitz Hadat, came the idea, the power, the koach of the chitzonim. What's the chitzonim? Self-independent. It's not about Hashem, but it's about me. Automatically, it made a problem for the descendants. What does that mean? The first child of Chava had a bigger effect on the sin that Chava did. That's why he did the drastic sin of murdering his brother, which was Cain. So Cain was the oldest brother, and what was one of the reasons, what caused him or what made him have this tava of doing this sin is the fact that he had more of a connection, or the closest from the brothers of doing ra. Cain is rov ra, Hevel is chetzi chetzi, 50-50, half tov, half ra, and Shet was majority was tov. That's why Klal Yisrael comes from who? Shet. The world comes from Shet, actually. We are his descendants, even though we don't start lineage from Shet, we start from Avraham Avinu, because he was the one that acknowledged HaKadosh Baruch Hu and went full force. He didn't do 50-50. He acknowledged it, and then he went full force. But that's what it means that when it says that they were together. The Ari says, Chas v'chalil, for a person to think that such an action would have happened. That's bestiality. That's even, I don't even know how that's possible with a snake. But again, whatever the case is.
Yeah, I mean, times were different.
True, times are different. Certain things were different. The concept of evolution gets into here. Is there evolution? Isn't there evolution? And so on and so forth. We won't get into that because that's a topic on its own. Yes, there is a concept of evolution, even according to the Torah, but not the way the Goyim hold it. The Goyim hold it that there was a positive growth of evolution. We hold the exact opposite.
And also you said
a negative, meaning what was once was much greater than what is now. They say what was once is greater than what is now. We say the exact opposite. What was then is less greater than what is now, and we hold what is now is less greater than what was. Right? As we all know, in Migdal Bavel, when we see two kinds of animals, we have to say a beracha mishaneh habiriyot, which is an elephant and a certain monkey, an ape-looking monkey. Why? Because we hold that in Migdal Bavel, not only did the languages change, but some humans turned into certain animals. That's why we say mishaneh habiriyot, the changing of the creation. Next question.
So you said the world comes from Shet. Is that this world or is like?
It means the offspring. The offspring. All the offspring. All the offsprings come from Shet.
But the world was
Destroyed. Correct.
So how do we
If Noah, if you go down the lineages, Noah is the great grandchild of Shet.
Oh wow.
Right? Sorry. It's the great grandson of Shet, and until we have the whole creation. Of course, there is still the DNA of Cain, not of Hevel, but of Cain, because through his wife's side it goes down. And there's the Nephilim, something we discussed last week a little bit. There's a third set, which were the angels that came up, that came down, that were up, that came down, and their DNA is also amongst the human beings.
How come we're no longer living like 1,000 years if we were still like descendants of that time, which was a different world?
Correct. First of all, we can use the famous excuse of the Ben Ish Chai, which means the Teva Hishtanu, nature has changed. Since nature has changed, a lot of things also changed. Now, but through science and technology, they're coming with certain new technology that allows the third pair of teeth to go out, how to make you live longer, how to make your skin younger. It's all about the DNA, right? How do giants be giants? What? They come out of their stomach like, what size do they come out of their stomach? Shalom Racha. No basketball game today? No? Okay. What happens, huh? That is the same baby, just they don't stop growing at the age of 18 or 30. There are those certain chromosomes that allow the body to continuously grow and grow and grow and grow. So there is no stopping. It's a continuous of a growth, which they're bringing that back too through science. If someone learns and has some sense of knowledge in the outside world, is not closed-minded, what does the Gemara say? The knowledge that Goyim bring, you can believe in it. It's nothing wrong with it. What knowledge? Science, math, and so on and so forth. These things are factual.
Unless it goes against Hashem.
Unless there is something that goes against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the fact.
Yeah.
Everything has to align according to the Torah. Before we start the shiur, does anyone have any other questions?
Aren't we all from Shem?
What?
Aren't we all from Noah's son Shem?
Correct, but that's after the flood already. Not everyone, only us, Muslims, the first original Christians, those come from Shem. There's Yefet. Yefet is a big machloket who they come from, but let's say the Romans and so on and so forth. And there's then Ham, which is the Kushim, the Asians, and so on and so forth. So that's a geography question. I mean, what?
The minorities.
They're not minorities actually. They're pretty big.
No, I'm saying.
Where was the mountain that the boat that the ark got stopped on?
Har Hararat, they say it is in Turkey. Okay, I guess we're getting into a geography class here, but what's going on? Anything else? Any other question? Any hashkafa questions?
I don't know what that means, but I have a question.
Oh, let it begin. Round 2. Go ahead.
Are giants already born like giants? Or
No, I just explained. They're They're born as regular size.
But how?
And
the mother's a giant.
They continue growing.
But their mother's really huge.
Correct. It doesn't make a difference. They are born in a regular size. Don't forget, giants, as huge as you make them sound, right? They don't come out of their mother's stomach already 100 feet.
But the mom used them.
It could be. There's a certain gradual step of growth. There's a certain human nature. Who said that giants can have kids when they're already so big too? Maybe there's a certain age gap. We don't know. But to assume you had a baby that looked like a human that came out 100 feet is also a little bit of absurd.
But Hashem can do anything, so.
Correct, you could. And here's the question, who cares? Here's the answer, who cares? We'll never have them again, like who cares? Like what are we arguing about? Something that was never anymore going to be in existence?
Why never?
You'll see a giant ever again?
I don't know.
Okay. So when they come, we'll ask them, how did they come down to this world? Until then, let's get the Inyaninu. Any other question? Hashkafic question? No? Good? Anything from you guys? Nothing? Okay, Rabotai, let's start. What's this week's parasha? Vayera. Parashat Vayera. I was going through the parasha, and towards the end of the first Aliyah, we see something very, very important. We see something very interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu, which later on in the Torah says that he writes about himself, he was the most humble human being on earth. Was scared to go to Paro. He was scared. He said, "Oh, how am I going to go? What? I can't even talk. I stutter. I mumble. I lisp. I have all the bad. I don't have a speech therapist. B'kitzur, I have a problem. I can't talk. I can't. Not only I can't talk, he's not going to listen to me. The Jews don't listen to me. The Yehudim don't. The Hebrews don't listen to me. What makes you think Paro's going to listen to me? What happened last week? At the end of last week, they all wanted to. They were going crazy at him. What did you come here for? You just made our job worse. Go back. Go back to Midian. Go back to your father-in-law's house. What are you doing here? And what do we see? And this is the greatest Musar Hesked. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, "Bo, come, let's go together. Don't worry about it. We'll speak together." And Moshe says, "How is this possible?" And the Midrash says that we have to understand. Sometimes we say things we don't even know why we said it. It just comes out, and then you think later, like, "Wow, too poor. Why I said that? I shouldn't have said that." This is especially normal in a marriage situation. Sometimes things happen and we don't understand that really everything that happens, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is just there to guide us towards those challenges.
We feel like we messed up, Rabbi.
And you did mess up. No one's saying that you didn't mess up. You did. But now that you messed up, what are you going to do about it? That's the question. You're not judged on your failures. You're judged how many times you try to get out of your failures. To fail is inevitable. Everyone falls. Everyone fails. Everyone sins. It's a part of being human. The question is, are you going to stay inside that pit, or are you going to get up and move forward? Some people have a bad teva. What's this bad teva? They start to emotionally abuse themselves that they failed. That's the worst thing. And this mostly goes on women more than men, unless the man is a bit more feminine. He starts or she starts to blame herself for all the downs and all the problems that specifically happen to their personal life, which eats them alive and which doesn't make them, which isn't, doesn't allow them to be normal functioning people in society. And that's what calls the deadbeat, potato, couch potato. What are you doing with your life? I already ruined my early 20s. Okay, you have your late 30s, you have your late 20s, you have your early 30s, the great years of your life. The late 30s, the mid 40s, the best time of your life. What are you doing? I don't know. I'm swinging. Whenever I find a good job, not that way, but whenever I find a good job, I take the job opportunity. No structure. No structure. That's a problem. Moshe Rabbeinu was scared. He's going into Paro with no game plan. What am I doing here? You told me to come. The Midrash says last week he was fighting with God for 1 week. Can you imagine fighting with God? That's crazy.
Technically we do.
No, you don't.
In a way, but no.
If God speaks to you, you're going to go fight with him. You're not going to fight with him.
He does speak to us to the Torah.
Correct. Elamai, you're right. He speaks to us every single day. But if you hear a voice, you hear a godly voice, it tells you, Yoshua, do A, B, C, and D. What are you going to do? First of all, you're going to make Asher Yatzar on the spot. Big Asher Yatzar, you're going to have to say. Second of all, you're going to be almost admitted to the hospital to think that you're crazy. Third of all, you're not going to argue with God. You say, wherever this voice is coming from, I'm going to do it. Just get away from me. I'm scared. Moshe Rabbeinu was for 1 week fighting with God why he shouldn't be the person to go and take out Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. Why? Do you want to know why? It's a question we have to ask ourselves. How come when we have our responsibilities do we deny it all the time? We push it away. What is it? Why don't I do it? Because you don't believe in yourself. When you don't have that self-confidence to begin with, what was Moshe Rabbeinu's problem? He couldn't speak. He didn't believe he had the koach to go and to discuss it with Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm sorry, with Paro. He didn't think he had it.
Why didn't Hashem bring up his confidence by healing him?
Oh, so he said that. Hashem said, I'll heal you. He said, I don't want to be healed.
Why not?
I don't want. Because the things that you think that are bad for you, that's what makes you. You have to understand that. That's the greatest musar skill in your life. We are always running away from certain things in our life. Personally, we always try to run away. Or we'll always find a reason to blame somebody else. But in reality, those things that are difficult, and you overcome them, that's what makes you Yoshua. Because without that, you're just like an animal. Everything is supposed to be the way it is. The fact that you have your circumstances and your challenges, that's what makes you so great. So what are you actually telling me? Take away whatever makes me great.
No.
The problem is we don't see it that way. So we see our, not the minuses in us, but our challenges that we have that are built into us, we see them as a negative. And the problem, the truth is, it's not a negative. That's what makes you who you are. The question is, how do I tap into that thing and use it for good and not use it for bad? And that's where the whole story of ego comes in. Please give me a cup. Why? I'm going to give you an example, a perfect example. Everyone knows they have certain responsibilities they have to do, right? And they're going to do it. What's the biggest problem? When someone tells you to do it. Suddenly you don't want to do it anymore. I'm not doing it now. Why? He was going to do it. He was going to throw the garbage. Munagid, example. But his wife told him, can you throw out the garbage? It's been there for a week. I'm not doing it now. Why? What happened? They hurt your ego a little bit? It hurts? I hurt your ego? And that's where the avodah has to come into place. Dress tsanua. Oh! I was thinking about it all day today. Now I'm not going to do it because you told me. That's a problem. That's called ego. That's a big problem. So how do we change that? Huh? How do we change that?
No, it's through Hashem that's coming. The
Baruch
voice,
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nehiyah bidvaro. Amen.
number one, everything comes from Hashem. That's number one. Number two, it could be a messenger that through her, Hashem is speaking to you. Like you said.
So then how come we don't see it at the moment?
Because it's hard to see, so that it's not tangible.
Your wife's telling you to do something and she's, you know what, even better, she's a tzadikah. So she says, it's not me, it's Hashem telling it to you through me. Don't do it. How are you going to feel? Are you going to say it's Hashem, or are you going to throw something at her face and say, that's also from Hashem. He told me to do it. I felt it.
No, that's what you say. That's what you say, Rabbi. Literally, these are.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're saying it's so likely.
No, I'm saying what to think. That we're supposed to work on that. That's what I'm saying.
Correct. 100%. But how can we make it that we should get used to that? It shouldn't be that it should trigger me. Lahefech. When someone does tell you to do it, you say, you're right, I was on it. I'm going to do it. The answer is very simple, but it's so difficult. It's responsibility. When you know you have a responsibility, regardless, for example, most people fall in this when it gets to work. A lot of us don't like the work that we're in. We don't. We just do it because whatever. And even if we do like it, we always have dreams of something better. Right? So you have to ask yourself, I'm at work right now, right? Am I going to just bum out and do nothing and wait till I get fired? Or I need to make that money. I have to grind. If not, I'm gonna be grounded. I have to work. Why don't you tell you that to yourself during work? Because in human nature, we know something's coming out of it. What's coming out of it? Green. What does green get? Car. What does green get? Luxury. What does green get? Things that you can be able to live. Right? But what don't we understand is that when you control your midot, and you not just control it, but you use it for the good, even though you don't see the results right away, it's making you into a more happy, positive human being. Being a happy and positive human being affects more and does more, I won't say of a damage, but it does more of a positive to your family than all the money you'll bring in the house. Because no matter how much luxury you have, if there is no peace and there is no love, I'm not talking about this new generation love. Love means respect, order, structure. If you don't have that in the house, your money is worthless. Because the worst thing is a man that can sacrifice his whole life for his family and they're not even appreciating it. And why don't they appreciate it? Because they don't appreciate him. It's not they don't appreciate his money. They love his money, but they don't appreciate him as a human being. And since you don't appreciate him as a human being, what happens? Everything that comes out of that person is nothing to you. So who starts to neglect you? Your spouse, your kids, your friends, God forbid your grandkids, and so on and so forth. So what do I have to do? I have to start working on myself and understanding that all these challenges that are coming, right, which are leading, which is every single day of my life, is really here for my benefit to make me a better person. It's not here for me to just hit my head on the wall and assume something good's going to come out of it. Because nothing good's going to come out of it until I do effort. Till you didn't open up the Gemara and grind it day and night, you didn't know how to do anything with it. Until you decided, I'm going to work and I'm going to struggle, I'm going to understand word for word, write the translation, and then I'll be able to know how to learn, I'm not going to learn. It's the same thing. What's the difference? You wanted to learn. So for you had that desire. But when I'm telling you to become a better person, what am I, a friar? She should live like this and I should be a trapka? Well, hi! What kind of life is this, Rabbi? Is that Judaism? I hear the stories how my grandfather lived. They give me the whole generational story. He did like this, he had this. No one cares about that. Finish. As many mishtanu, habibi. Generate that idea, that mentality is in the garbage. Doesn't exist. So how can you have it? When you work on yourself and become a better person, automatically she'll want to do the same thing. And then you'll have that not as a nature, but as a desire. When you go and give charity to someone that's bugging you, you give him and you just want to adbavit, you want to just get rid of him. But if you go to a place that you have a connection to, how much do you want to give? 6 times the amount you're going to want to give. Why? Because I worked for this. I know what they do. I have a connection to these people. Same thing in a relationship. If you just go down and you don't learn, your connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is 50%. You know, davening, we said this last week, and I hope to say this many more times. Davening is us speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But learning Torah is God speaking back to us. I can daven 24/7 and tell him what I want and how much I appreciate him and how much I love him. But when he wants to give it to you, you don't know how to formulate it. Because when he gives it to you with challenges, what do you say? Oh, it's all rigged. I hate God. You know how to blame the world, but besides yourself. And what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually telling you? If you overcome this challenge, you'll have the kli. You'll be a worthy enough vessel in order for you to be in upgraded mode. I can't upgrade you if your vessel is not ready to be upgraded. So how do I get my vessel to be upgraded, which is a human being, his neshama, his mentality, his personality, is by going through all these challenges. And then automatically you feel like you're a better person. And that's why you get married, ultimately. You don't get married to be physical with your wife. Yeah, those are all the perks in the marriage. But if you would weigh out all the positive and all the negative, it's not worth it. Ask any married guy, he'll tell you that. It's not worth it. You can get that in this generation, one phone call away. No problem. So why do we do it? To better ourselves. To know that the next time she screams or the next time I get angry, it's a time not to react, but to contemplate and say, wait a second. I'm going to mess up right now. I don't need this. Let me think before I do. And automatically, you see what? Your life is becoming better. Yeah, even though if you have to initiate. Yeah, you have to initiate. You're the man. Don't say, oh, what is she doing? She just needs to initiate. If she has to initiate, we have a problem. We have to check who has the big team in the relationship. That's a problem. Don't expect her to initiate. She shouldn't initiate. You should initiate. And through your initiation, your leadership is a big difference. There's leadership through example, and there's leadership through force. We've only experienced leadership through force. That's why we hate it so much. Because when they tell us to do something, we have this like disgust taste to it. Why? Because it's through force, it's not through example. I'll give you a perfect example. Me personally, my kids, at least my 4 older kids, they love to cook. They love it. Why? Because they see Abba Ima cooking together before Shabbat, they see before the Chagim, we're very much together. They hate to clean. They hate it. Why? Because I personally, I don't clean around the house. I can't. I'm not going to do it. I pay a cleaning lady. Cleaning lady comes. She cleans the whole house. Khalas, I'm done. I don't need to do that. Now, as much as I tell my son and daughter, clean your room and do this, they'll do it. But how will they do it? 50%. Why? Because they have no one to look up to. Like, wow, this man does this. So there's a koach pnimi, there's a koach haratzon. So whose fault is that really? It's my fault. It's not their fault. I can scream at them from today to tomorrow. It's not going to make a difference. Who has to change? The parent needs to change. I agree to this. I'm not saying I'm not no angel. Maybe the angel of death, definitely. Right? I'm no golden angel over here. There's things that need to be improved. But who's to blame? It's the teacher. It's not the student. The student only copies what the teacher does. So you have to ask yourself, what can I do in order to make it that this thing shouldn't affect my offspring? And how do you do that? By you being that example. You don't want your kids to be barbaric? Stop being barbaric at home. That's the way it works.
So in that case scenario, is that like a mitzvah to...
I say it again?
In like that case scenario specifically of cleaning, is that considered a mitzvah then?
Do what? To clean?
Yeah.
First of all, it's a mitzvah to clean.
No, I mean like, instead of just like paying a cleaning for yourself.
And there is a sense of, because you have to teach your children. I don't believe in the fact that guys or girls will get married and they'll be handicapped in certain things. I find it very, very inappropriate and improper when a man or a woman cannot at least take care of themselves, and they just have to be reliant.
You gonna start cleaning?
Well, I
Yeah.
do, but I guess I'm saying it's not enough. What's not enough? It's the cheshech, it's the desire of doing it. Do you understand? If the desire is shown, it starts to seep out to everyone around you. If the desire is not shown, as much as you can do it, it's not going to affect. I'll give you an example. The Jews, after World War II, when they immigrated to America, or even before World War II, the Jews that immigrated to America, a big percentage of them didn't keep Torah mitzvot. Until today, their offsprings are hitbolelu, they're already assimilated. And some of them, they continued in their Torah mitzvot. So they asked this question one time to one of the Gedolim, and the Gedolim answered, because the father that came from Europe and was just sulking about his life, because it was hard, Lamaisa. They lost everything. They had to figure out America. When he came home and discussed it, even though he came Shabbat and Torah mitzvot, it was always with a bitterness. It wasn't with an excitement. So what did the kids do? They correlated that Yiddishkeit equals bitterness. But then you had people, they didn't have anything, but they came home. They were so happy. They saw their kids, they saw their wife, they saw their family, they saw themselves. And they said, everything's going to be okay. This is just another test. The kids saw that and they equal that into what? Happiness, greatness, purpose, meaning, structure. Perspective is very important. And that's what happened in this week's parasha. Hashem said to Moshe, don't worry, I'm here. Not only am I here, Aharon, your older brother, is going to be with you, and he will speak on your behalf. There's not a problem. He will speak on your behalf. Don't be scared. You just need to have confidence. You just need to believe that in any step that you go, know that I'm there with you. I'm not there only when you need me. I'm also there when you think that you don't need me. We always need HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But sometimes we think we don't need him.
That's why we're doing good, right?
In reality is, he's always there. And I'll give you an example. I heard a nice, cute story, and when I heard it, I was very amazed. There was this couple. They were going out. And they were about to get married. Unfortunately, she had a work incident, and a whole bunch of chemicals spilled, and she became blind. Now she's blind. Her life's over. And she goes to the guy and she's crying. She said, listen, I know you want to leave me, you want to have a better life, and you got to do what's good for you. And the guy said, nope, I'm still going to marry you. And she said, I'm blind, I can't do anything. Well, what do you want from me? What am I here for? I'm just a burden. And he said, don't worry. I will teach you step by step how to pick up your life. And he did, slowly. Every day he was teaching her something else to do in the house. Every day at a certain time, know that this bus comes, this one goes, this one comes. Everything she was able to do. A couple months later, he said, I have to start going to work earlier. I spend 2-3 hours every morning with you. I need you to start to be more self-efficient. And she started crying. She said, how? I can't see, I can't move, I can't do anything. How are you putting this burden on me? He's like, don't worry, I'll teach you. And he teaches her how to get to work by herself. It took her 3 months. She learned there's a bus, it comes at this time, it comes there, and who to walk with, and that, so the clock, the timing, everything he taught her. One day, first day, she's on her own. She gets home, she goes to work, she gets home, everything was perfect. Husband comes home, how was it? Amazing. 2, 3, 4, a month passed. And what happens? The girl decides it's time to go home. She goes on the bus, and the guy, the bus driver, looks at her and says, there's always someone following you. I want you to know that. Is everything okay? And she says, describe the person that's following me. And he described the exact description of who? Of her husband. She went home and she understood that who's really watching her this whole time. Her husband from far just gave her the kelim to be self-efficient, but yet every day was there making sure that his wife was okay. That's our Musar scale every single day of our life. We live our life, we get into the car, we do this, we do that. We don't understand that even though life is going as we think it should go, everything is positive, we have to remember there's someone always guiding us through that way. And if we don't come to that understanding, we're faking it to ourselves. When people complain, why did you do this to me, God? It's because they didn't have God with them all the time. From the beginning, they didn't have Him. So when it gets tough, they know how to blame. But if they had it from the beginning of the day until the end, they would realize that everything that happened was thanks to Him, even if it was, God forbid, something bad happened, that we don't see the benefit of that right now. But it's still a benefit.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, please.
To be a little bit left field. I just have an example. There was some kid who just recently played basketball. He landed on his leg the wrong way, tore his meniscus. How does that help him be successful with God? Serious question. Serious.
We have to wait a couple of years to see. But no, through that, and he's going to go through therapy, mentally and physically, he'll have to learn how to structure his life differently. And since he has to structure his life differently because of his injuries, he's now going to have a different path. But that path he needs to take. And that's why that happened to him. I'm not a prophet, cannot tell you why, but I could tell you for sure that if it happened, it had to happen. Now that it happened, how do I move forward from it? We have a problem of something bad happening and blaming the rest of our life on that bad that happened. That is not good. That is bad. We have to leave that mentality of blaming and come to the understanding of how do I take responsibility. Any other questions? No? No one? Okay. I want to talk about something. I'm gonna get back to this, but I want to clarify something very important. What is my? How do I hold? Again, I'm nobody, but since you guys come, I'll give you my perspective about early marriage. Someone asked me this, that's why I'm asking this question. Early marriage, late marriage, financial marriage, and so on and so forth. So today I'm going to give you my little piece of mind on this. I'm a very huge advocate for early marriage. Huge. Extremely. The earlier the better.
So many people say the opposite.
I can't vouch for what other people say. I can only tell you what I say. I'm going to explain to you why. I believe as long as the boy and the girl are somewhat mature, they're not in Trala land. You know what means Trala land? They're not getting married for pictures and posting. They're not getting married for that. They can take pictures and post if they want, but that's not the reason why they're getting married. They're getting married because they want to start a life. They want to grow. Life's already getting too repetitive and empty. It's time to advance for that. As long as you can pay the essential bills, which is rent, transportation if have, and food, there is no reason why you shouldn't get married. None whatsoever.
So how early?
To each kid his own maturity.
No, I mean like some
Usually by the age of 19, 20, a person should have somewhat of a head. And if he doesn't, then he has to wait 20 to 21.
No, but I mean like dating wise.
But now someone goes to yeshiva for 3 years. Boom.
If that's the way, if that's his hanag of how he picks his life, then he doesn't get married until he's 21.
So right after yeshiva, boom, boom, boom. But
Whatever the structure, but that doesn't apply to you.
I'm just giving an example.
I'm answering you. That doesn't apply to 90% of the people that even watch this. But if a person gears his life, he wants to sit and learn Torah, right? Until the age of 21, 22. And he wants to find someone that's going to help him to that path. That's their decision. Again, that's a decision that they are making together. You understand? By themselves, whatever the case is. But if a person wants to start his life, he's going to work, he's going to go to school, and she's also going to do the same thing. And even if they won't work, but they'll figure out how to make a living, which I already gave this 1,000 times through student loans and so on and so forth. As long as you have the understanding that it's not about luxury right now, it's about surviving right now, that's good. And I'll tell you why I'm an advocate for that. Because if you guys can't live together in hard times and in struggle times, then you're really not living together in peaceful times and in good times. Because if you're just getting married because he has something or she has something and so on and so forth, you're married because of the thing and not because of the person. And that is very dangerous. Because if you're marrying the person because they or she has something that you want, monetarily or physical, it's a disaster. Because if you take away that thing, everything goes away with it.
But if you were like written to marry that person,
Correct.
from Hashem,
Correct.
you're gonna have to go through it regardless.
Correct. But there's a level of hishtadlut you have to do. Now pain needs to come to us regardless, right? The question is, do I have to make the pain into something drastic, or do I have to do it in avodah pnimi? It's very boring and repetitive and sickening to have the same fights for 50 years. And I know couples like that. Most probably you guys also know. Maybe not 50, but 30 years. They're still fighting about the same thing. From when they got married, 30 years later, they're fighting about the same nonsense. It's sickening. It's disgusting. I go to these people's house for Shabbat, I want to throw up. Like, you guys are going to be grandparents. Why are you fighting over things that people fight when they just got married? Because they didn't grow up yet. Because it's all about me. It's not about us. It's not about growth. It's all about what is in it for me. That's not marriage. That's not the point of starting your life. That's disgusting. It's humiliating on you. It's belittling. That's why you married her, because you need something from her.
So besides for postponing like how late you're gonna get married, what are the other downfalls?
That person's not mature.
No, I mean like they're postponing their maturity.
They're postponing their maturity.
Basically, it's because that's when they're choosing to do the hishtadlut, and that's when they get.
That's a problem.
Yeah, of course.
So what's your question?
Or if somebody's like, I want to be mature next year. You know, like if they have.
He's not gonna be mature next year.
No.
That's just the way it works. I promise to you.
Like New Year's.
If a person can come to a understanding that I'm gonna be mature next year, he's gonna be a debil for the rest of his life, guaranteed. We can give him a certificate. For me, stamp it. He can tattoo it on his forehead.
These kind of people, do they usually end up marrying?
The woman you marry is your zivug.
The first one, right?
We're not gonna get into that right now. The girl you marry, regardless of who and what, she's your zivug.
So I like that you pray for a woman, for someone to be.
Because until you don't marry her, you don't know that she's your zivug. There are many stories of people right in the altar, right in the chuppah. They say, "I'm backing out." Many stories like that.
Under the hoop already?
Under the chuppah, there was a story like that. I think in Yerushalayim, the Chatan got up and left.
Oh, she opened the veil for the first time.
And what happened? She was so embarrassed that the Rosh Yeshiva asked her, "I see your embarrassment, and I'm gonna, this is odd, but we don't do this. I don't know why he did this. He said, I'm gonna find you someone to get married to right now. Are you willing to take it?" And she said, yes. And he found a Chatan in the crowd, and he promised them, Banim Tzedikim, because he saved her embarrassment, and every single one of their kids were all Gedolei Olam.
Wow.
Now, I'm not telling you to do this. This is something that is very, right? Imagine it would be that easy, say, right? If it was just that easy, but it is really that easy.
That's how Hasidim do it.
No, Hasidim do it different, but it's really that easy. You know why we think it's not easy? Because we come in with such an expectation, and then when you ask yourself, how about you? You expect nothing on your side. That's the problem. We only expect from the other party to do everything, and we expect nothing from us. That's what's the problem. We want the other person to come with the whole world, but when it comes to you doing hishtadlut, figuring it out. So lo holech kacha. Lo holech kacha. And another advantage of doing it when you're young, marriage when you're young, is the younger you are, the less exposed you are. What does that mean? Exposed?
I mean, the more you know, the worse it is.
The more, but I want to talk about it in a positive way, not in that way.
More meaning like there's more fears, there's more things like,
The younger you are, the more capable you guys are able to mold within each other's ideologies. The older you are, the more you are set in what you want. And then to mold yourself into what the other person wants is very difficult. Why? Because I've been living like this for so long. Why do I need to change? My life is perfectly fine. So I have to get married because my parents are getting on my nerves. They're telling me every day, don't get married, get married. And the neighbor's telling me, and I go to shul, I hate going to shul because every old lady there is offering me their great-grandson already. I'm tired. That's not the reason to get married. That's not the reason to start a life. That's disastrous. That's called heading for, Rahman al-Islam, something very bad. So why do you do it? Because you want to become a better person. Because only through that will you become a perfect human being. How? By controlling yourself. By communicating. By being one with your spouse. That's the only way. Is it scary? Sure, it's scary. But would you go on a roller coaster that's not scary? No point. It's not scary. What, I'm going to waste my time in line for 2 hours now? You want to go to which roller coaster? The scariest one. Why? It's a bigger thrill. Since it's a bigger thrill, I want to go on it. So this is life. God's saying, I'm giving you the biggest thrill. Do it. No, this I can't do, Rabbi. You're killing me. I'm not killing you. Work on your midot. You'll be fine. Work on your midot. What was so special about Moshe that Aharon couldn't be the leader? Do you know what it was? The key. You want to know what was the key? Moshe was never a slave. He didn't have a slave mentality. He was always a free person. So in his mind, everything was able to be achieved. For him to achieve was not a problem. What's the problem? Let's make a plan, let's do it. Aharon, on the other hand, even though he might not physically have been a slave because he was from Shevet Levi, but he was living amongst Jews that always were complaining about their slavery. So in his mind, he had that stuck, like, oh my God, how am I going to help these people? But for Moshe, his mentality was totally different. I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to help everybody. And what happened? The guy that was stuttering and lisping and they couldn't get one sentence straight took out the Yidden from Mitzrayim. Nobody else. Some even say his father was still alive. How? Everyone was there. The Gedolei Olam was there. How come they listened to him? Because he came with that confidence. You're not going to come with a confidence, what are you left with? You don't need to have anything in your pocket. People get it wrong. You just have to know how to present yourself properly. If you know how to present yourself properly, you have everything. So where's the fear? You tell me, where's the fear? No fear? None of you? It's all good?
What did you say?
Where's the fear? Well, you're still in high school, so you don't talk. You have no fear.
Fear is what?
Where's the fear?
No, but if you had confidence, then why do you fight Hashem about speaking to Pharaoh and stuff?
Because he wanted to get out of it. He didn't want to do it. You know, when we have good opportunities in front of us, but we have a structural life, we don't want more. Take that in business, for example. What's the worst thing in the world? Having a 9 to 5. Why? Because it locks you down. It gives you security, but at the same time, it doesn't allow you to be who you are. Correct. That's a person that's an entrepreneur, even though he might not be successful, if you ever ask him, do you regret, what will he tell you? I don't regret it. Why? Because I know I did whatever I needed to do in order to try to succeed. You ask a guy at the desk, what is he going to tell you? I'm good, okay, my dreams didn't come, it's okay, look, I have family. Nah, you didn't do it 100%, you didn't live life to your fullest potential. You didn't do it. So who's to blame? Who's to blame?
So
Yourself. Okay, let's continue. What?
Why didn't they all leave Midian?
Who?
All of the Jews.
Why did they leave?
Why didn't they flee like Moshe did?
Oh, so the Midrash says that a half of Shevet Menashe, half of Shevet Ephraim, tried and they got murdered. And how do we know this? Because they were the first ones to have resurrection. They got up by the Shirah. They did the Shirah and they integrated back to Klal Yisrael. You know that, right? There's a machloket, but we hold that they went back and they integrated with Klal Yisrael, so they couldn't leave. Yeah, Mitzrayim was so into black magic. The technology, until today, they still don't understand how the pyramids were built. You understand that? Until today, with all the chokhmah and knowledge we have in this generation, they still can't understand it. There was more of knowledge back then than we have now.
So why did they have technology?
Why?
Why did they have this type of technology?
They had different. Each door, each generation to their needs.
They had divine technology?
Both. Both. The answer is both. In order to go to a Talmid Chacham, to a Navi, a prophet, and say, I'm sick, what do? I need healing. You don't have to go through any medical examiners. They'll tell you what the problem is. That was divine knowledge. That all changed, you know when? Hanukkah time. When we decided that we wanted to be like the Goy. We want to be handsome, beautiful, go to the gym all the time, impress. We threw the Rabbanim. We say, we don't need you. You guys are old school. We want science. We want philosophy. We want to understand on our own. You got that. We have that now. But what do we also have? We're missing that shukah, how to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very simple, but it's very hard. It's unconditional. That's what it is. If you have that unconditionalness towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you'll get whatever you want.
He just knows what you want.
No, he knows what you need.
You
You only want what you need.
Huh?
It's a very hard pill to swallow. I'm going to explain to you what I mean. You ready?
Yeah.
A person only really wants what he needs. Okay, so let's break it down. Why you said no? Go, hit me.
Why is it?
Not you, him.
I want food, yeah, I need food. But what type of food? I'm not gonna eat some food. I'm gonna eat something fire. So it's like, I understand what you're saying, but in reality, it's like what you want.
Okay, so I was going more deeper. You're going more in nitty gritty. Say someone wants to get rich.
Okay.
Does he need to get rich?
Yeah.
He doesn't need to get rich. No one in the world needs to be rich. But some people want to be rich.
Okay.
Why? What does richness give you that you can't get anywhere else? Not anywhere else. What does richness give you that a person enjoys?
Freedom.
Mental closure that they're able
What?
mental closure that they're able to get something if they were to need it.
Oh,
I have that money, I have that availability.
you said it. It's power and recognition.
Yeah, but some people's psyche is not complete if I don't have that money. They might have all the money in the world and they might have that power.
For what? They don't have the power if they don't have everything that they need. If they want.
That's not a complete person.
It's
That's a person
so
with a
what
broken
is he?
brain.
What is he desiring?
I don't know, I can't
He's,
tell you.
he's
I don't
desiring
know.
power, recognition. People love to be recognized. People love it.
Yeah, but you could be recognized
If
by
you
money.
take very difficult, that's exactly what I want to get to.
You-
If a person is not satisfied in his dalet amot, in his surroundings that he's wherever he's in, if he cannot master being recognized, for example, at home, he desires and seeks it from outside. How do you do that? You got to get wealthy. So his focus now is what? I have to make money. Because it's easier to make money than to change yourself as a human being. Much easier. You can get rich much faster in a shorter time than being loved and recognized at home. You ready? You want me to prove it to you? Okay. How long does it take you to finish school?
2 years, 2.5 years.
All of your schooling?
Everything, well, from elementary school.
No. Your college career.
2.5 years.
2.5 years. You happy?
Yes.
You have a good job?
Baruch Hashem.
6 figures eventually?
Yep.
Even 7 maybe?
Possibly.
Oh. Yeah, no, it doesn't make a difference what he does. He's very smart. He went into a good industry. For him. Now, You as a human being, are you satisfied with who you are?
As an individual,
Yeah.
of course,
Okay. Are there things that you need to work on?
100%.
Like,
Getting it from Minyan consistently.
how many years have you been trying to do that?
2.5.
2.5 years. Yet you already finished college in 2.5 years, but yet getting up to Minyan you can't do in 2.5 years?
I did it when I was in yeshiva.
That's not what I asked you.
Because I had
That's not what I asked you.
influence.
That's not what I asked you.
I fell out.
Do you understand how much more difficult it is to change as a human being than to get a career?
Yes, I understand.
There's your answer. A girl can also be tzanua when her mother and father and when she's in yeshiva. But the second she walks out of the building and goes to the corner, she takes off that skirt and wears that pants and she does what she does. You know when she decides when she's not gonna do it anymore? When she realizes that I'm not living a rat race. It's about me and it's not about how everyone thinks. When she can acknowledge that, then she'll desire to be more tzanua. Because eventually she's not doing it for mommy and daddy and for school. She's realizing that as a person, this is what makes me better. Why? Because I'm not doing it now for anybody. I'm doing it for me.
So the proposed reason as to why I am not a complete person is because I'm not fully doing it for myself.
Correct.
And when I will fully do it for myself, I will be completely consistent.
Correct.
Obviously there will be those exceptions.
Whatever the case is.
Yeah, obviously.
Yes. And what does for yourself mean?
I want to feel good.
What does for yourself
Connecting
mean?
to Hashem
What
as a
is you?
creator.
What are you?
I am a human. I am a product of Hashem's creations.
No, you're not.
I'm not.
I'm explaining to you.
I'm a robot.
I'm explaining to you. You could be actually, but we're not gonna get there. The ones that know, right? So I'm gonna explain to you. If you're using the Tana that you are who you are, then regardless what you do, you're doing good. The fact that you're not human, you're a chelek Eloka, you have a piece of God in you that allows you to exist. It's called an neshama. That's what gives you your drive to do anything. So in nature, you want to connect to it. The problem is the obstacles in the way through your experience of your childhood starts to make different decisions for you. But until you don't decide that you're doing it for yourself and you're not doing it for anything or for anyone else, that's when you'll start achieving that greatness. So going to minyan or being tzanoi, keeping kosher, or even putting on tzitzit every day, for example, it's not because it was fed to me for 18 years of my life, but I'm doing it now because I realize that this is really right. But if a person is just doing it because they were fed all their life, the second they have the ability not to do it, they're not going to do it.
Why though?
Because they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for everybody else. That is the problem. And when you don't have positivity in a relationship, any relationship, it's bound to fail. So when a couple comes to me and they always complain, the first rule, I learned this from my Rebbe, is until I don't have a list of 10 positive things about your spouse on both sides, I'm not talking about your problems. Because if you can't find the good and you can only see the bad, you're not even married to begin with. Do you understand? Because you don't base anything on the negative, you base it on the positive. You can only improve once you see a negative. But the relationship or the connection between you and God and you and your peers is based on what? What good of a connection you have. You with me? What did I lose you?
You have me. I get it.
Okay. So what's your question?
I got the answer to my question.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
It's not like a question, but is that why people say like anyone can be on Baal Tshuva? Because even if you're born religious, you have to choose it for yourself, no?
Everyone is a Baal Tshuva.
Technically, like you have to choose.
Not because of that, but because...
You can choose it.
Correct. When a person chooses, it's not choosing, when a person comes to a realization, an understanding that it's not just about me, in a sense of, I'm not doing this to impress anybody else. I'm doing this to become a better human being. Everything changes. Everything changes. Your whole outlook in life becomes different. Because at this point, you're not living for anybody else. You're living for yourself. You're living not just for you, but you're living for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not saying this, you're doing this because you're some robot and you have to be stuck and chained down to a deity called God. That's not what I'm talking about. That's pure, that's not the Derech Torah. We're doing it because the only person in the world that could do it is you. I don't have your challenges and you don't have my challenges. It's impossible. That's why the world was created for you. Why was it created for you? Because only you can achieve those challenges. And when you achieve it, what happens? You make this place a better place. So when you ask me, what's the point of living? The point of living is very simple. For you to achieve what you were meant to do. And one day you will die, and if you don't complete it, you'll have to come back. But no, what's coming back? That part that you didn't achieve. The part that you achieved doesn't need to come back because it's done. So you have to ask yourself, how long do you want to wait until you get to that understanding of I have to take action? Fear, being scared to take action, is very cowardly. Very. It's for cowards. Only cowards are scared to take an action. Because until you don't take the action, you won't know if you could achieve it or if you can't achieve it. You'll never know.
Take action in what? You can take action in business, marriage.
Everything. It's all one thing.
Yeah, how do you know what you're supposed to do?
That's a good question.
The world like mirrors
Yeah,
the Ishtaddut, right?
You could choose to spend more time at work. You could choose to spend more time at home. You could choose to spend more time learning.
So what's the question?
How do you know what you should choose to expand in?
Okay. So there's two things to this answer. The Pirkei Avot says, when you have someone that guides you, automatically all your doubts are no more. Why? Because you're working under a certain structure. Now, even having that structure still makes you very doubtful. So a person has to prioritize. You need to learn how to prioritize. What do you mean by prioritize? You have to prioritize time management. Work, relationship, God. Those are the three things in your life that you have to learn how to prioritize. When a man comes and says, I do everything just for you, what does that actually mean? He's not happy. The person that's happy will never say that. He's not satisfied in his self-work that he's doing. If he would be happy, he wouldn't need to say that. Why? Because regardless if you're doing it for the people around you, you're also doing it for you. You're not doing it just for them. Which is a huge step. So you have to understand, how do I prioritize my time? By not wasting any of the time. I'll give you an example. We see at the end of this week's parasha that it says that God hardened Paro's heart. Right? The famous question, freedom of will, freedom of choice. This is a totally different topic, but I'm going to get into it. I have to first... I'm gonna get into this. I know that we're going to be here for another 20 minutes minimum, but I'm going to get into it anyways. Isn't God cruel? He's cruel, no? A little bit, right? I think a lot. I'll explain to you why. Paro wants to let us out, and every time he wants to let us out, what does the Torah say? And I made his heart strong. I made him stubborn. I didn't allow him. He wanted to, I didn't allow him.
How do we know he actually wanted to, like...
It's written. Whatever is written is word of a God. He wanted, and I didn't let him. So comes the Baalei Musar, and they bring such an explanation. Until I didn't read it inside, I couldn't believe it because it's such a perfect psychological answer. You have a kid, right? And you tell the kid very simply, let's say he doesn't like a certain medicine. He tried it once, and he doesn't like it. You give it to him once, you force it down his throat first time, second time, third time, fourth time. And now instead of putting the medicine, you put something sweet and good inside of it. And he drinks it. And he thinks it's medicine. What is he going to say? It's bitter, I don't like it. I don't want it. But you changed it. Tastes good. The Baalei Musar said that Paro convinced himself so much not to let the Jews out. He himself, even though it says he wanted to, he mentally locked himself in that he doesn't want to let them out. He really did it to himself. By initially saying no, he convinced himself that he doesn't want. We trap ourselves mentally sometimes that's what doesn't allow us to achieve. Success, to achieve success, you have to mentally allow yourself that opportunity. But if you tell yourself, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make it, and you could make it. But since mentally you said you're not going to make it, you're not going to achieve it. You're going to crash. When I got married, I was 19 years old. I was 19. I didn't have $1 to my name. You know what that is? Not even a penny. I had nothing. Nothing. But in my mind, I said, I have to get married. I want to have a life. I want to start. I don't want to wait. I want to be an early bloomer, not a late bloomer. And slowly, I figured it out. Here, there, this thing, that thing, and so on and so forth, and it picked up. But what made it pick up? Of course, support of my wife, it's not even a question. But it was the mindset that said, I'm not a nebuch. I'm gonna achieve. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna accomplish. I'm gonna make it. I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait till I make my first deal. You know when you're gonna make that first deal? When you know you have to make the deal. If you know you still don't have to, you still have time to play, you're not gonna make it. I'm not married yet, I have no responsibility. What do I have to pay a car? Okay, I get money here and there, I don't really care. But boom, when you have responsibility of a bill, Habib, you're gonna do whatever you need to do in order to pay that bill. So Paro really did it to himself. That idea that God hardened his heart is just a metaphor of saying that Paro decided himself not to allow them to go out. There was free will to begin with.
Clearly says God. So what do you mean?
I'm explaining to you. Paro made himself not have free will anymore by allowing himself in the beginning to not to let them out.
So why is this a God did it?
The whole thing is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The whole thing. But understand what's going on behind the scene. Behind the scene, Paro didn't want him to leave in the beginning. He said, no. Now that he realized it was getting so bad, and every blind person would be able to see, just let them out, you won't have so much suffering, he still said no. Why? Because he initially convinced himself that they're not going to go. Until it got to his own life.
Can you compare it to something else?
Give me a minute. What's your question?
No, you answered the question. I was going to say, what about Malkat Bechorot, the final plague, was different that triggered a switch in his brain to say let the people go? You said it attacked him.
Correct.
So that was like, okay.
So did everything else.
No, it didn't. Nothing else attacked him.
When he was drinking water, it didn't turn to
No.
gold.
Because he could have bypassed every single other plague. Malkat Bechorot, he realized it was the end of his life.
It wasn't that, it was the end of his son's life.
Paro himself was a firstborn.
Firstborn was Paro.
Like he didn't die.
Correct. That was the whole thing. Because what did Moshe said? You're gonna see it. Moshe told him, you will witness us leaving. He couldn't die. He died later. But understand the Musar skill behind it. It's you that makes those decisions, nothing else, and nobody else. It's only you. Your misfortunes, Rahman al-Islam, and your aliyot, your good things that happen to you, is all your doing, of your action. How you take it also depends on you. That means the guy that said over here, he fell and he ruined his foot for the rest of his life. We don't wish this on anyone, but now you have to ask yourself, what do I do with this information that I have? What am I going to learn out of this right now? And then you take it from there. I'm going to finish with a small story unless someone has a question. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
Like, you know how Paro hardened his heart and he made like a mental cage? How do you
Correct.
break free from that mental cage? If you really made it long time?
That's a good question. The question is, now that I'm in that mental cage, how do I get out? You want the mental, you want the psychological answer or the physical answer?
Psychological.
Not the physical.
Both.
I guess both.
So I'll give you the physical answer first. Seeking uncomfort, to be uncomfortable, is the physical way to break out of it. I'm going to give you an example. I have a friend, a very close friend. He's very big in cash advance. Very big. And as a kid, if you would tell him to call someone on the phone, he would think, no. For him, it was the worst thing to do. He was very, very shy. He was embarrassed to pick up a phone and just to ask someone for anything. He couldn't do it. Now, cash advance, if you know the business, it's all cold calling. The whole thing. So I asked him, how did you do it? What was your trick? He said, I realized I have to stop caring about what other people think. When I made that phone call, I had to think to myself, I'm making that guy a favor. He's not making me the favor. I'm giving him my money. When your perspective changes, that you're not forced into it, but it's your responsibility and it's your honor to do it, automatically when you have that responsibility, you look at it totally different. Why? Because you're not thinking of it that I'm forced or I'm pressured. What are you thinking of it? It's my honor and my duty to do it. So I want to do it. When you say that to yourself that I want to do it, automatically everything changes. What does the Gemara say? A woman can say to her husband 100 times she wants to get divorced. It doesn't mean anything, the Gemara says. Until who says it? The husband.
Really?
Once the husband says, I'm done, you know the relationship is going downhill. Why? Because his effort already is not going to make a difference. A woman in her nature, even though the effort is 50-50, but still, she'll always try. I'll make it work. I'll do whatever. It's okay. For the sake of the kids, for the sake of the... A man, once he's cold, he's cold. Nothing can change him. Unless what? He works on his midot. So physically, you change it by seeking to be uncomfortable and embracing it. And mentally, by allowing yourself to understand it's your privilege and you're not forced to do it. Going to Minyan is not because God forced me to go to Minyan, but I have such an honor to go to pray to Him early in the morning. I want to be one of the first, not one of the last. That's the way you have to think about it. I'm going, why? Because I can't wait to explain and express myself. First, not last. Everyone wakes up early to beat rush hour. Why? Because they don't want to be stuck in the traffic. They want to go early. So they don't have to meet all the headache on the way. Same thing in everything you do in your life. Unfortunately, we were taught Torah mitzvot in a very chitzoni, dark, negative way. With that, we were taught it with the hands and with the whip. It's time to change that. Real Torah mitzvot is taught by the mouth and by the mind. Only weak people, when they can't express themselves, they start using their hands and start using the whip. Why? Because they see they can't get their message through. But a person that's wise knows how to get his message through with his mind and with his mouth. Capish? Understood? Any other final questions?
Would it have been possible for Paro to...
Everything would be possible, but it didn't happen.
No, I'm saying to break out of that mental cage of defeat.
No.
You know?
No. And I'll tell you why. Paro is the same letters of Oref. What's the Oref? Does anyone know any Hebrew?
Stiff neck.
Neck. The back. The back of the neck. Really, the truth is the neck. If I show you a picture of a neck, the front and the back look almost identical. It's very hard to tell the difference. Unless you have the Adam's apple and the whole kinds of mice, right? Paro, on the other hand, he was Yonek. According to the soul, he was Yonek. He took his power from the back of Shem Havaya, of really Shem Elokim. That's why he said when Moshe came, what did Moshe come and say? I come in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Paro said, what? I don't know this God, this Yud Kei Vav Kei. I know Elokim. Yosef taught him Elokim. I know Elokim. I don't know Yud Kei Vav Kei. Where are you coming from? He said, watch it. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the revealment, is the source. How do we know this? I just want to talk about last week. Shifra and Pua, right? Wow, how come? First thing, what did Paro do? He changed their name. What was their real name? Yocheved and Miriam. He changed it to Shifra and Pua. Why? Why did he change their name? Because he wanted them to leave the energy of Yud Kei Vav Kei and connect to the energy of Elokim. Because if he had them connected to the name of Elokim, he can control them. But Shifra and Pua didn't. They still, in public, they were called who? Yocheved and Miriam. So that's why Paro had no control. Imagine Paro, not the president, forget the Paro. Let's say you live in North Korea. Chingam whatever his name is, right? He's your prime minister. If he'll tell you to do something, you're gonna say no? You're gonna do it 100%!
He says jump, I ask how high.
Exactly. And Paro, how did they do it? Because they knew Paro had no power on them. Why? Because he didn't allow them to change the name. He didn't allow it. Sorry, they didn't allow him. So his energy, his yinikav of controlling people, he had no control over them. Why? Because they were still taking it from Shem Havayan. They weren't taking it from Shem Elokim. And that's why Paro fell. Why did he fall? Because when Moshe came, Moshe said what? I'm coming with Havaya. What does it say in the Torah? I revealed to Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov in the name of Kel, in the name of Shakai, in the name of Tzfakot, in the name of Elokim. And in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, they didn't know me. They didn't know me. What does it mean they didn't know me? They never had this revealment. What does it mean Moshe saw, this is later, Hashem face to face? What does it mean? He saw the revealment of the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. No other prophet had that revealment. Can't see God. God doesn't have a form. There's no seeing him. But his revealment, how he revealed himself in this world, he had such a clarity. It was like Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's what it means. You want to reach that? You have to throw your full trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 101%. How do you do that? By taking steps that you think you can't take. If it's in Torah mitzvot, if it's starting a family, if it's finishing school, doing everything all in one, you have to do it. Why? Because it's the only way you'll show them that you really trust them. Other than that, you don't really trust them. Because trust is unconditional. Once it becomes conditional, it's not trust. It's selfishness. Any last questions? Amen.